Hey everybody, welcome.
Hi. Hello, my wonderful friends. So today we're going to talk about probably the most important piece of History Day, which is creating a thesis. So when you start out for your History Day project or any paper in college or high school or a professional paper, you're going to make a thesis statement. So Mrs. Valverde, when you think of thesis statements, what do you think of?
When I think of a thesis statement, it guides whatever you're writing about. So it tells me exactly what to expect as I'm reading an essay or as I'm, in this case, looking at a project.
So it's the topic, and then everything I say is about that topic. Okay, so now remind yourself, in History Day, we're making an argument. So this is not informative writing, it's argumentative writing. We're making a claim. We're saying something we believe. So, for example, Emma believes that Native American women should have the same rights and should be cared about just as much as any other person who lived on the planet. She doesn't think it's okay that Native American women are missing and nobody's doing research. Nobody's looking for them. Thousands of women right now in America are missing, but because they're on Indian reservations, they're not being taken care of. So Emma feels really passionate about that. So her thesis is going to convey her claim that Indigenous women have the right to be cared about through Carolyn's story, and that we have the responsibility as a society to help solve the problem. So in our thesis, we have to have the right and we have to have the responsibility. Okay? So in the chat, let's see what you can do with that. Everybody try to give me a sentence about your topic that includes the words right and responsibility. And it's okay if you have to do 2 sentences or even 3. Let's give it a shot. Jacob Riis is wonderful. This is a really, really powerful topic. So for Jacob Riis, that's one I just saw here. So Jacob Riis, you could say something like, the famous photographer Jacob Riis changed the American landscape by taking pictures of children in working conditions, like horrific working conditions. He felt it was his right to teach the world about injustice that was happening for children and children's labor, and we have a responsibility to stop children's labor in our country and abroad. Or we have a responsibility not to buy products that are made from children's labor. So whatever you want that responsibility piece to be, let's think about that. So this is your step-by-step checklist for History Day. So if you understand the theme, rights and responsibilities, then we'll move to the next part. If you don't remember, the rights are established by our friend John Locke, and he writes a great book called Two Treaties of Government, where he argues that it is our collective responsibility and that of the government to protect our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. Of course, Jefferson changes that to happiness. So when you're talking about Dorothea Dix, you know that the society was making mentally ill patients, was killing them, was locking them up, taking away their freedom, and was stealing their property. So she's protecting their basic rights. So that's something that you could put in the thesis that would be really helpful and make that thesis stronger. So then we've researched our topics, and now today we're starting to narrow. So your sentence will probably be 2 sentences. It probably will be 2 or 3, not 1. And in this block, this statement, you need to have who was involved, where, what happened, when, and of course, why important. And today in class, we talked a lot about why something is significant. Why do we care? We need to answer the question, why we in the future, now living today, care about what happened. Why should I care about your claim that mentally ill patients should have a dignified life and that they have equal access to care? You should convince me that that's important. Don't assume that I just agree with that. Do the work to convince me. They must include the words rights and responsibilities or you won't win. The judges literally look for that on the rubric and they go check. And this is the checkbook for the judge rubric. So when you see it, you can get a check. And then your thesis statement will continue to get stronger. It already is in the chat right now. So my goal today is that we are going to write our original thesis statement and then do all of our research. And once our thesis statement is done, we can start writing our performance scripts, building our documentaries and our exhibits, because everything revolves around this holy thesis statement.
To have a thesis statement that outlines what are the rights and responsibilities connected to your topic. And it's going to kind of set the stage for your entire project.
So let's just analyze Julie's right before we go out on break for our 10 minutes.
Here, I'm going to put it up here so everyone
can. It's a great start. So Tinker versus Des Moines, it's not a story. It's a famous Supreme Court case. And we should start with the year. So we would say Tinker versus Des Moines and then have the year. I think it's 1970. I can't remember exactly, but it's the 70s. It's not a story. It's a famous Supreme Court case, or one of the country's most important Supreme Court. We really want to build the significance, right? Why it's important. Of two middle school students. So instead of kids, you'd say two middle school students who they didn't want to, they did, who protested the Vietnam War by wearing armbands, period. They were suspended for their protest, right? I like this idea of right. They were suspended for their protest, and then you want to go on to tell me what our responsibilities are. You definitely do not have to have the 5 W's in order. Emma, what a brilliant question.
That's a great question, Emma.
In fact, a lot of times, mixing that order up and using our prepositional phrases to make it more powerful is really going to add a zing to it. So I think that's good feedback. Julie, I picked on yours because it's so close. It's really good. And I thought the feedback would help you make it even better. And I know how excited we are when you get to actually meet Mary Beth. I hope we can read our thesis to her. That would be really neat.
That would be amazing.
So what I did is I started with book banning because she asked me a really great question. Here's Priscilla in the chat. And she said, what is the right to read? How does that work? And so I thought, let's see what ChatGPT does with that. So I typed in, create a History Day thesis for me that talks about the importance of the right to reading and why reading is important. And then I said, include what responsibilities there are and ground my thesis in the story of Pinochet in Chile, because that's what we're writing about. And let's see what chat did for us. It says, here's her thesis. It says, under the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, and by the way, you need to put your date right there. And you can just put it in parentheses and just put the dates of his dictatorship right there, and that'll take care of the where. So under the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet in Chile, the government's widespread censorship and banning of books violated the citizens' fundamental rights to access knowledge, suppressing intellectual freedom, and stifling dissent. That's great. That's, I think, a great thing, because it says, if I don't let you have books, if you cannot read, then by the act of banning and censoring books, you don't have the right to access knowledge. And if you're not intellectually free, you don't have the right to have liberty, because you don't have as many choices because you don't know about those choices. So, for example, if I have a stomach ache and I don't know about Pepto-Bismol, I don't have the choice to take it because I don't know about it. So if I have information, I can make better choices, right? I can make more choices. However, these repressive actions also highlighted the critical responsibility of individuals to communities to protect their rights to read and preserve. That's a little wordy. I feel like we could clean that up a little bit. I think that gets a little overwritten. So that might be a section where we really want to go through and read that down, but it gives us kind of the basis to start. It's kind of just repetitive. It's talking about the importance of intellectual diversity, different opinions. We could use John Stuart Mill's Marketplace of Ideas there. I think that might be stronger. And then it says the resistance to book bans in Chile underscore the enduring struggle between authoritarian control and the responsibility to defend freedom of expression. So then it lands on freedom of expression. I don't think I would land on expression. I think I would go back to the idea of intellectual freedom, or the idea of freedom of thought. I don't think I would.
Yeah, I mean, it started with the right to access knowledge.
Yeah, so expression is the author itself, but I think we're arguing about the consumption. So I express my idea when I write about it, but we're talking about the freedom of knowledge, and I think we need to work in good decision making. I think it would be stronger to say, when you suppress people's access to knowledge, they're easier to control. And that's what gives us these authoritarians. And this word authoritarian means like a dictator, somebody who can control how you think. So if you think about the monarchy and Hobbes and how he was saying the king has to protect your right to life and that they can't be an authoritarian, they have to care about you, because authoritarians just do what they want to do and they don't care about our rights. So I think that's a really good spot if you want to take parts of that and we'll start to rework them. Like I said, feel free to like work with Chat GTP because we can start editing and changing. Chat will give us like a basic level. We would never use that, but at least it gives us some words, some academic words that we can deconstruct and maybe find better words and create some consistency. So I love this. We're going to look now at the national champions.
So you want to look at the national champion ones?
Yeah, I think it's great. We just talked about what Chat could do. Now let's look at how the national champions can do, and let's see if how close AI is to this.
Okay, before we do that, this is the assignment that you're going to put your thesis statement into. So it's titled Thesis Statement, and you'll just attach it there. Okay, so I just added it to your document.
So notice how kids right away notice how it starts with that preposition with the date, how I always have you do that. Notice the top writers in the country are starting with the date, or both of those start with prepositional phrases. I just want you to see that my rants about prepositional phrases and the importance of not just going subject, verb, direct, object really add flavor, and all the top writers are doing it. Sorry, Mrs. Belbury, I just got so excited.
No, that's fine.
So I'm like, look, what I tell you is true. What I tell you is true.
No, that's right. So, I mean, we could go through these and I don't know what the theme was for these projects. So, because that's not really made clear on the website.
Look, they're using a quote.
Yeah, but this one used a quote, which was interesting because I haven't seen that before.
And double dates. You guys look at the double dates. Tinker versus Des Moines, you could use this.
Mm-hmm.
The year they protest and then the year of the Supreme Court case. That's a nice idea for Tinker versus Des Moines. Do not do that, Dorothea Dix. This is not a good style for you at all. We'll pick a better style for you.
Do we want to, because we know last year's topic, right? Do we want to look at some of ours from our kids last year?
Yeah.
Okay, so last year's topic was turning points in history. So, do we want to look at Monica's or Esteban?
Let's look at Esteban's and see if this isn't better. Our best is probably Chloe, but I bet we don't have Chloe's.
I have Chloe's paper.
Because I'd like to show them that thesis.
Yeah, I can pull hers up too.
So here's our in again. Look, following the format. Good job. In 1517, Martin Luther posting of the 95 Thesis at the Wittenberg Church sparked a pivotal moment in history, challenging the corrupt practices of the Roman Catholic Church and leading to the Protestant Reformation. Luther's refusal to retract his claims despite opposition from Pope Leo X and Emperor Charles V paved the way for the rise of diverse Christian denominations and the end of the Church's dominance over education and access to the Bible. The Protestant Reformation not only reshaped religious beliefs, but was a major turning point for political education. Well, should be probably political, educational, and religious reforms.
It is. They're very
ultimately ending feudalism and leading to the self-determination necessary for constitutional democracy. And we know constitutional democracy is a great thing to add for significance. So this is really nice.
Okay, here is Chloe.
Oh, it's Jocelyn! Yay, Jocelyn!
Let me make this a little bit bigger.
Her penultimate paper. That's how we knew it was done and it was ready to be in the top 12. Oh, awesome, Jocelyn. Okay, just so you know, guys, this paper was top 12 of the entire state. It beat out well over 400 papers, including 50 from our own county. So this is top level writing. And this is just her intro, so we can go down to her thesis. Scroll down. There it is. Okay. Maybe up. I think we scrolled right past her thesis.
Right here, right?
Where is it? Maria Bachkareva would rather die fighting for her country than live a life devoid of dignity, respect, or the ability to wield a gun. Founding the Women's Battalion of Death, her bold actions and strength in the face of oppression inspired women across the world to fight together for sovereignty, safety, and suffrage. So there's her thesis. We definitely should have had the word turning points in here. I was a new coach and I didn't know.
We learned a lot from last year that we know now.
Oh, I'm glad she actually listened and tried the chat thing, and then we can see what it says. So chat gave us the riot girl movement emerged in the early 1900s as a powerful feminist response to societal norms. This actually is a good one. Advocating for women's rights and responsibilities. Fix the word responsibilities. Okay, what are those rights and responsibilities of patriarchal culture? I think we need to get to more specific. So what were they? That's too generic. That's very chat and not enough us. So right there, we need specificity. Like, what politically were they advocating for? This is too generic. Are we going to do one song or all their songs? Like, I need to know how narrow.
It's like a movement, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
so should we have
not just the songs, it's like the design.
So in the exhibit, how many bands are we going to feature? Are we going to do it through one band and link it to the movement, or are we going to show multiple bands? So we need to decide that to finish this one. I love this. Through a fusion of music and radical politics. But one of the things that we haven't established is what is their radical politics. But keep that sentence. Through a fusion of music and radical politics, riot girls empowered women to reclaim. That's really nice. And then I like this idea of responsibility of artists. This one's closer. It did better with this one. I like this one. Yasmin, what do you think of it? Tell me in the chat what you think, honey. I like this. Through a fusion of music and radical politics, riot girls empowered young women to reclaim their voices and assert their identities, highlighting the intersection of personal.
Yeah, this is good right here.
Yeah, I think that is your thesis. This genre not only amplified the call for rights, but also underscored the importance of social responsibility among art. This is great. We should rewrite it so it's in our own words, so we're not plagiarizing, but the ideas here are fantastic. We just need more details.
Mm-hmm.
So we
need to be more specific.
Bands, yeah. So riot girls, and then the bands, and then instead of saying young women, like, let's get specific. Where were they? Women in what area of the country? What age group? What demographic? Why were their voices lost? One of the problems with this thesis is reclaim their voices. It needs to be clear who took them. So I think we should fix that. It's a genre. Yeah.
Does it say that?
Where it says reclaim their voices, that doesn't reclaim from what? The first part of the thesis would have to say how their voices were stolen. Right? You're right. Riot girls empowered young women to reclaim their voices. I like fight for their rights. I like the idea of assert their identities and fight for their rights. But what right are they fighting for specifically? I think that's what this is missing. I think the thing that, what are we talking about expression? I feel like your right to expression would be perfect here. Like women to fully express themselves and not just to be what people want them to be. So a lot of times people want women to be quiet and subservient, but Riot Girl says, no, if you want to be loud, be loud. If you want to be obnoxious, you know? So that's like our expression, our authentic self, maybe. Something like that. I think that would really move it back. Oh, this is going to be good. This one's going to be really good. Mm-hmm. Anything else? You do exhibit, so you're coaching this one specifically.
Yeah, this is my group.
Add?
No, I think if you guys can work together to kind of answer these questions, then that's going to give us a lot more narrow focus, because we want to make sure that we can tell the story of your thesis statement, especially with the exhibits.
And I'm not clear on where it was in the country yet. And I'm also
the Pacific Northwest, wasn't
it?
And
I'm not clear on what they actually fought for, what rights they actually fought for.
Mm-hmm. So that needs to be included here.
Yeah. What did they feel was being taken away from them that they needed? Yeah.
What made them start the movement? Like what injustice had happened where they said, we need to speak up and do something.
Cool. I love it. I think Julie's turn.